really, really sore feet to the point where I have since lost 7 toenails.
Wow.
Welcome to the Gary Word Trail Running Podcast. My name is Pat and I'm here with regulars Mark and Phil. And this is episode 4. If you are new to the podcast, perhaps go back to episode 1 and you can listen from the start. The structure of this podcast, we cover the Grampians Peaks Trail section by section. We break it down into 12. And so, this is episode 4. We've actually got a special guest here today. I'd like to welcome Jay.
Hello, how are you going?
And Phil.
G'day, how's it going?
And Mark.
Yes, hi all. Nice to be back.
But yeah, super exciting to have Jay here for this episode. Definitely familiar with the Grampians Peaks Trail and the Gary Word area. You've been heading up to Gary Word for a long time, haven't you, Jay?
Yeah, I've been holidaying in the Grampians, the Gary Word area, for 24 years.
Whoa.
I've got a special connection with the hills and I keep coming back. And why not run it while I'm there?
It draws you back.
That is awesome. Did you first come up on family holidays and things like that, or what sort of first brought you to the park?
I came right back with my first Easter with my boyfriend at the time. So my boyfriend and I came and had our first Easter holiday there. We then got married, had kids, and took our family back every year since then. So all my children have had since they've been born. They've been there every Easter for their whole lives.
It was the ice cream, wasn't it? It was the ice cream.
It was definitely the ice cream.
Brings everyone back. It had nothing to do with the mountains or the trails.
Well, funny you say that, because when we are there, we do have daily ice creams.
Oh, wow.
After we've done the pinnacle, it's daily ice creams.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's great. And do you drag your family out to the trails while you're running them as well?
Yes, I drag them out. Now my daughter wants to come out, so there's not as much dragging anymore, but more me trying to keep up. So that's always nice.
Fantastic.
What age do you think you graduate from the ice cream after the trail to the pint or the glass of wine?
Oh, yeah, I think 18.
18, okay, yeah, nice, okay. Yeah.
I'm being a good parent here.
Yeah, they're good with the RSA as well, yeah. All right, so we're going to talk, Jay, I suppose, a little bit about the 2024 GPT 100 race. You did pretty well. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So I suppose first up, what went well for you? Like, how did it work out so well? You know, what was your experience on the day? Talk about the good bits first.
Yeah, so 2024 was the first time I had really jumped into doing a solo multi-stage race. I approached it like anything I do, and that is I made it my A race, and I made it my goal to do every race in Gary Word leading up to that, so that I had the most amount of experience. I started the year with the GPT camp and made some amazing connections with Pat through that, and a few other recce weekends with people that I connected through the camp. I then did Run the Gap, Peaks and Trails, and the Wonderland. So I did all those
homework.
races. I did my homework, and I had already completed all bar about 12 kilometres of the trail up to day 1. I was really excited. I was really looking forward to just exploring. It's probably the only race where you can do point to point in that whole race. I did okay. Won my age groups. That was a nice surprise.
Yeah, nice. Awesome.
Yeah, so that was good.
What time did you get?
I don't know, actually.
You don't know? That's all right.
I think I was just going for completion. That was my biggest goal. Was completion. So I was, really happy with how the year planned out. It was funny, though, because day 3 we got pulled off because of the cancellation. I'd made 30 kilometres of the 42, and the one section I hadn't done up to the start line was the one section I didn't get to do during the race. So I booked accommodation for Christmas Day, straight after work, to drive up there and get this
And do
done.
that last bit.
and do that last bit. And then what happened?
Oh, no.
Grampians got shut down because of the fires. I still have not done that tiny little slither of the trail. So I'm coming back.
Motivation.
Yeah.
I'm coming back.
Unfinished business.
Unfinished business this year. So
I got to say, that's like if you were to write a rule book as to how to run a race like the GPT 100, what you've just done is, I don't know, I don't think you can come up with a better preparation plan. That's
perfect.
I'm impressed.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah, I always plan things to the T.
Did you feel confident coming in? Like, as in having done all that, were you like, I've got this. This is just...
I think subconsciously, yes.
Yeah.
I was ready. I knew I'd done all my homework leading up to that point. I had not done 4 big days like that in a row.
Yeah.
So that was the one thing that I wasn't quite sure whether I could achieve or not. Mm-hmm. The only thing that I probably naively neglected, was my feet.
Okay.
And I didn't prepare my feet well enough. So I got blisters, I got really, really sore feet to the point where I have since lost 7 toenails post that event. But I've learned more about my feet in that event than I have ever learned. And yes, I did record it. And yes, my colleagues at work were very grossed out when I showed them me pulling my toenails off.
I feel like that's going to be a new question for every special guest, is how many toenails did they lose while competing in the GPT?
I just haven't been running hard enough. I've got all 10 of them sitting there.
Did you, so what would you do next time, like feet-wise, to mitigate that?
So feet-wise, I've since invested in the creams. So I'm using now some of the pre-running, I'm not going to say similar to Vaseline, but on the feet. I'm also using merino wool. Oh, yeah. So I'm trying merino wool out between each of the toes and hot spots. So I know where my hot spots are now, thanks to that race. So I always pre-tape the hot spots up.
Can I ask about the wool? Is that the merino? Is like a little bit of wool you stick between your toes and then you put your socks over the top? Is that right?
Yeah,
is that what you're doing?
I just purchased a bag of merino wool.
Yeah.
And I just wrap it between my toes.
Yep.
And I'm hoping...
Yeah, I've seen hikers do that.
I'm hoping that will see me through into my future races without as much issues.
I did not know that that's a thing.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Can you get it direct from the farm? I have connections.
How big's your backyard, Pat? You can just keep a sheep. Just go out before a run and chop a bit off.
That's it.
It's a trail.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm interested, like that step up, because a 4-day sort of 4 back-to-back marathon, essentially trail marathons. And you said that was a bit of unknown. So what did your training look like in the lead up to the event?
So leading up, I was building the kilometres slowly, and earlier that month I did do the 4 peaks in the Alpines, nice. Out of Bright, and I made sure that I did up and down each day, so that was giving me the elevation I needed.
That was only 2 weeks prior, wasn't it?
Yeah, 2 weeks prior.
Yeah, that's a pretty good effort. Yeah.
I had a knee injury earlier in the year, which sort of prevented me. I had a fall on a technical descent, and that sort of took me out for 2 months. But in that time, I literally just grabbed my hiking poles and I hiked, because there's probably 70% of the event is hiking. So I just learned to hike with purpose.
Hike with purpose.
Hike with purpose. I did a huge amount of hiking, like 5-6 hour days while I had the knee injury, while I couldn't run. So I think that actually really benefited me without knowing. And as frustrated as I was that I couldn't run, that hiking training really helped me to build a really strong base. And then I saw the osteo, implemented a lot more strength training, and that helped with the knee, because it is a lot of knee work all across that terrain.
It's a good segue into, I wanted to ask, from your perspective, what do you think other people should look out for if they're running this event for the first time?
I think if you're running this event for the first time and you're doing the multi-day stage race, it's about backing up your training. backing up multiple big days. So a lot of running programs, you do one long run, whether it be on the Saturday or the Sunday. And then you have your recovery the next day. Whereas a multi-day stage race, you need to be able to back it up each day. So doing 2 or 3 big days in a row, really with a lot of elevation. So you want to be getting that amount of elevation across your week. Sometimes I couldn't get out. I did a lot of driving for my training. So I drive an hour or so to get to a hill. If you can't do that, it's just hill reps. So doing a lot of hill reps, a lot of quad work.
Yep.
And my poles became my best friend.
Yeah. And I did actually bring up the results here. So, Jay, you did finish first in your category and you finished with a total time of 21 hours, 8 minutes and 56 seconds, which that's a brilliant result. Is there any particular sections that stand out throughout the event, sections of trail that you really loved?
Yeah, I think it has to be the start. So what you get out of the multi-stage race is the community and the camaraderie. You are on the bus every morning with the same cohort of people. So I think day one, we drove in the bus across to Mount Zero. We had the sunrise as it was coming up. There was just a buzz in the air. We had the smoke ceremony. So I think that start line, I will never forget. Just the excitement, the anticipation, everyone around you, and then that taipan wall starting that was really amazing. I think it's one of a kind that you won't get in any other event. And then every morning, the same people would get on the bus and we would share stories and we would share what went well for us, what didn't go well. So that community, I think, was incredible. Mount Zero was relentless. Mount Zero, I didn't think it would ever end. The oasis of water at 30 kilometres was my saviour, so that was really good. I loved that. And of course, I was really thankful to get day 4. Because of everything that happened, I ran with just such gratitude on day 4. Every step that I took, I was so happy to be there. I also had the privilege of having Michael Dunstan record and track my event. So that was really special as well. So he would come out on course each day and run little sections with me. He would interview me. He ran the last 2 or 3 kilometres on day 4 with me. And I just couldn't believe how lucky I was. So
for the listeners, who Michael Dunstan?
He works for Single Track and he won 2023. The 100 mile, and he's an amazing runner and an awesome person. So to be able to share that experience with him was really special as well.
And I think he knows a thing or two about sore feet as well.
Yes, and snake bites.
And snake bites.
He's all over that.
So you've run pretty much the whole of the GPT 160, except for that small section, obviously. But you've also run across a bunch of different other races, different areas. We were talking about Tassie earlier, off air. But, the GPT, it's pretty unique. What sort of sets it apart from other runs, other races? Is it the terrain, the elevation? What did you find? Why would you do that over other runs?
I think I have run a lot. I've run a lot in the Alpines, so out of Bright and things like that. Yeah, I've just come back from Tassie, so running out there. I would say Garrowwood is probably one of a kind. I think I haven't ran internationally, but I have heard it's one of the hardest races in the world, and I would agree with that because of the terrain, because it's quite exposed, especially from the sun. Like there's not a lot of cover in some areas, especially that first stage, day 1, and Mount William. So it's hot, it's relentless, but it's so beautiful. The scenery from every part is just amazing. Sarah Ranges is just one of a kind. When you look across and you see the views, I think that just feeds you to want to keep going, to want to keep getting to Dunkeld. So I think it's so special. It's so beautiful. And then on day 4, actually, I was about 5 kilometres from the finish and a little echidna just came out from the bush, and I had to stop. I was just in awe. I had to stop, and I watched the little echidna, and they're always beautiful, and they're always shy. And then you see the kookaburras, and the kookaburras, I always think I need to channel my inner kookaburra because they're patient.
Okay.
And they wait.
Yeah.
And that's what this terrain and this race is about. It's about patience. So you can't go too hard too early. You've got to just sit like the inner kookaburra in us, and we just have to wait and be patient and take our time, and then you get to the finish line.
That's an awesome reflection, and I suppose like the three of us, having spent a fair bit of time in the area, we love the space, but we're a bit biased, to be honest, and that's why we're doing this pod. But that's a really great reflection, and even bringing it back to running it, and the connection with nature to how you should run through it. That's a really very cool. Very cool reflection. Thanks for that.
It does change as well, because you have that harsh rock, that red rock at the start, and then it takes you through a beautiful rainforesty area where it's green and it's lush and it's beautiful. And then again, you come back out and there's so many different layers to it, and that's what I think I love about the point-to-point race. It's not the same the whole way through. You'll get so many different areas, different terrains, different bits that you can take on. Yeah,
that's brilliant. I should say it's probably not going to make sense for all listeners depending on when you're listening to this recording, but as we're recording today, it is actually the opening of registrations for the 2025 event. Do you what are you going to do this year, Jay?
You just got 12 kilometres to run, don't you? Is that it?
Yeah, that's exactly right.
You sign up for the whole thing and just do that little section.
I have to come back. I have to. I've got unfinished business. I've already teed up some paces, so I am going to take on the 100 mile in one go.
Fantastic.
End to end.
That is so good. And I heard someone else is also taking the opportunity of the early registrations here as well to sign up for the miler again.
I did get on board and I registered.
Are you going to finish it this time?
I'm hoping to go more than 115. So I'm signed up for the miler, and we'll give it another go this year and see if I can get it done. But it was last year was a bit of a first for me. It's the furthest I've run in one stint and got to 115k, and hopefully this year I'll get to 162. And what about you, Mark and Phil? Any thoughts on what event you're doing this year?
Myself, I probably don't need to go. I'm just trying to get my head through. I've got a couple coming up. I'm doing Ticania in a couple of weeks, which is down in Tassie, which will be fantastic. And then I've got UTA, and that'll be my longest run, UTA 100k. But I just want to get through. I was thinking about taking advantage of the early sign-up and locking myself in. But I think I just need to take a breath, get through them, and then take a bit of stock post that and see where things are. But I'm definitely going to be, whether it's participating, pacing, volunteering, getting amongst the event. I just undecided as to what level of participation I'll be involved with.
Paddy will happily accept a pacer, I think, if that becomes your.
No, I'm not accepting Mark as a pacer.
I know what I'm doing. I'm definitely signing up for the 50k. I think unfinished business is the nature of it. My races this year, I'm doing Ballarat Marathon in, I think it's only 10 or 11 weeks now. So hopefully I can get rid of the road marathon in me and get a good PB for that.
What time would it take to get rid of the road marathon in you?
Anything starting with a 2:37 or less will be my
I know what we are kind of today, with each episode is focusing on a section of trail. I know today we're focusing on that section heading from Paul's Gap to Rosia Car Park, which I know for a lot of us and a lot of people that's the kind of the main section of trail you run when you first come to Halls Gap and go up. It's got some of the most spectacular parts of the whole trail on it, and I think we've all had an affinity. The fact you run from your house and from your door when you live in Halls Gap or you're visiting and be on this part of the trail without having to get in your car, without having to do that, it is just such an amazing experience.
If we're talking like a trail walkthrough of this section, the stats say it's 9.5 kilometres, so from Halls Gap through to the Rosea car park. It's actually a lot more up than it is down, because the Rosea car park is quite elevated compared to Halls Gap Township. So ascending, you go up 650 metres, descending only 270 metres. I think stat-wise, it's actually one of the easier, if you had to break the trail down into 12, it's actually one of the easier sections to run. It has got a lot of vert. Maybe I find it easy because it's sort of the go-to trail that we do as locals all the time, but it's actually quite short. Like, I don't know, what do you think, Jay, as a regular visitor to the area? Do you still find that section easier?
I think when I unpacked each of the 4 days, day 2, I had my head around the most. So Halls Gap to Burrow Hut, I don't know again whether it's because I've raced that quite a lot over the last few years with Wonderland and run the gap, but I think that's probably the easiest section over the 162.
Yeah. Yep.
In saying easy, it's still challenging though. Like that, I know started day 2, like backing up a really hot 50k, waking up, pushing yourself, and then getting up, but having to run up to the pinnacle. So you're getting 500 metres of vert over a bit under 5k, but it's really technical running too. Like, how did you find your body responding after trying to back up from that first day and that initially?
I think because there was so many of us going from Halls Gap, you really couldn't get a good run on. You were in a single file and you were just following the leader all the way up to the pinnacle. So you actually were held back a little bit when it came to pace.
Oh, okay.
And I think because of that, it meant you couldn't go out too hard, too fast, too soon. And that meant my legs could warm up. And then by the time we got to the pinnacle, then we were ready to go off to Rosea car park.
I reckon it's a really good point for anyone racing any races that follow that course on the GPT from Halls Gap up towards the pinnacle, is that very much a conga line after about the first kilometre. So make sure you seat appropriately. Otherwise, you're in for quite a long hike.
Or some high confidence overtakes.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, what do you all think, though? I mean, just a thought comes to mind, because it is quite a vertical climb and lots of stairs and this sort of stuff. The difference between, your pointy end, quick runners and, people who are hiking the uphills, people come together, I suppose, in that kind of instance. Everyone's climbing up the stairs at a pretty similar pace. There's no way you can sprint up the stairs. I mean, Strava would suggest otherwise. There's some good there's some good segments, some good CRs up those stairs, but I'm sure those people were sort of getting to the start of the staircase, having a breather, and then hightailing it up. But in a race like that, what do you guys think? Is it?
I'd love to see what the pointy end is doing up some of those stairs.
Yeah.
Like, I really have no idea. I have no idea how some of the people on Strava leaderboards get up there so quickly. Usually
GPS
they seem
malfunction.
I don't know. There seems to be a common theme of orienteers seem to be able to do vert quite quickly. I'm not naming any names, Brody, but it's quite amazing how quickly
some people can get up.
Some people can get upstairs. Yeah. I don't know if they're running. They must be jumping like 2 at a time, I'm assuming.
I don't know. I walk up them quickly. What did you call it? Hiking with purpose?
Yeah, I definitely hike with purpose. Yeah.
In my head, I view a really quick time to the pinnacle from the start as 40 minutes. And I know the elites are doing it quite well under that, but to me, but it's 8 minutes per kilometre. So it's actually, it's not, when you put it like that, it's not moving fast, but that feels really quick.
Well, and I think there's not, like, going that way, so the 5 kilometres up to the pinnacle, if you go via Venus Baths, the way that the GPT race goes, there's sections of stairs. But I mean, there's still some runnable uphill as well.
Yeah.
It is very technical, like a lot of rock. I maybe talking about that whole segment going through the Rosea car park. I think I break it down into some different sections. The first bit is getting from Halls Gap to that top of the big rocky hill that's 500 metres after Venus Baths. For me, that's kind of the first milestone. Then getting through to like the Wonderland car park is kind of the second. Then going up through Silent Street up to the Pinnacle. And then probably even getting through to Sundial car park over that tiny little climb just after that and down to Rosea is kind of just one last section for me.
I mean, I'd agree and I think if you're doing the trail or throughout those trails regularly, it's easy to even mentally break up the trail into a few little spots. Even just because, it might be where you might turn off and do a different trail on the day.
Yeah, and I think there's a couple little pinches, like there's that little ascent when you go from Sundial Car Park back heading to Rosea. Like, it's only about 50 metres of vert, and it's just enough of a gradient
at the right time.
Yeah, that you kind of know it's there, and so just being ready. And then you got that really flowy kind of mountain bike style trail down for the last sort of 2Ks to the car park. But they're just those little things to look for. Yeah,
at the Rosea car park, you can sort of tell that people have had a bit more of a refreshing run. People come through that aid station looking pretty fresh and pretty quick. People come out of this, there's a bit of bushy scrub, and then people sort of come out across the road and sort of really sort of the stride is long, and people are sort of like, wow, that was a cool run. I mean, I think, Mark, on the day you just needed Vaseline, that was all you wanted.
Yeah, that was a bit of a hangover from a bit of underpreparedness in day one. But thank you for being there for support. That was well timed.
I think you said to me as you were leaving Halls Gap, you're like, I need something for this chafing. I was like, all right, sweet, I'll see you up there.
I know. Yeah, I went a bit too hard to the Pinnacle that day. I think I was motivated because it is a special spot. And Jay, I know you said you come every year for 24 years, or it was earlier, and I assume the Pinnacle's been quite a feature of your trips to Halls Gap as well.
I think the Pinnacle, like Pat said, it's straight out of Halls Gap. I think that's a yearly visit. Definitely. And
one of the most important questions that's often debated amongst some of the locals, one of the really good trails is the Pinnacle Loop. Now, clockwise or anti-clockwise, which way would you prefer to run it? So this is going up from the caravan park. You go up the front, up through the escarpment and come back, or follow the GPT up to the Pinnacle and come down the front.
I think GPT up. Yeah, what would that be?
It's a more gradual up than
it's a more gradual up. Yeah,
so anti-clockwise.
Yeah.
I think I'm more a clockwise person, but then when the first year of the GPT 100 came around, I instantly switched to
doing anti-clockwise.
To anti, just so I could get used to climbing that way.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is I stopped doing it clockwise because Phil set a time that beat my Strava time that was unattainable for me, so I stopped completely.
There's a bit of a theme going through these segments about people getting Strava. It doesn't seem to be people you don't know. It's just the ones that. Yeah.
I do remember that day, actually. Was that the day that I'd fallen over, was bleeding from the chin, and we were in Simon's wine bar, a fantastic wine bar called the Grampians Wine Cellar. If you're ever in Halls Gap, make sure you go there and see Simon. Sensational wines. But me and Paddy are literally standing there having a glass, and his watch pings, telling him that he's lost the crown.
I left the wine bar and went home to bed.
No, I must admit, the Pinnacle is a pretty amazing spot. I know a couple of years ago I was in a workshop for work, and someone was facilitating this session, and they did this sort of, they just took a bit of time breathing, come back from a break and talking through these. I'm going to do a session on nature meditation, right? And I'd never done anything like this before, and it's like, okay, I'll, you participate in this anyway. A few bit of breathing, bit of connecting, and then just talking through, find your spot in nature, just find a spot and do it. And my mind was sort of racing around. I was going to the beach, I was going to places, and then I remember just nestling on top of the Pinnacle and just nestling there, and then you're just connecting, breathing, smells, what you can hear, the sights and sounds, and it was a pretty incredible moment, actually. And that's, I often will go back to that now and just reflect on it as that sort of special spot. So I encourage anyone coming to visit to get up to the pinnacle because it is a pretty amazing spot. Yeah,
You've got a bit of a specific photo that you take every time you go there, Mark.
I do. There's a the view north is I don't know what I'm up to. We're up there the other day actually. So the Gary Word Trail Running Friday runs. We're up there not last Friday, I think the Friday before, and we met one of the locals who he sort of said that he thought he'd been there 1,000 times, and I was like, wow, that is up to the pinnacle. I'm like, that is impressive. I said, I'm not quite up to that, but I try and take a photo looking north every time. So north, when you look north, there's this awesome escarpment, and then of that same Wonderland range, and then you look up to Baroka, but you look sort of through Overhaul's Gap and then through the valley. And I was actually, my family, I didn't know it at the time, but they commissioned a family friend to do a landscape of that view with the fog blanket through the valley.
Fantastic.
For my birthday a few years ago. And so I just take this photo. So one day I might collate them into a bit of a mashup of different views looking north. But it always is different, That's the thing about Gary Word and important. It always giving a different ambience, a different vibe, and so it's nice. Yeah,
Shout out to that local Ant for he's a long-time local resident and he's often running those trails. He refuses to run in groups because he said he's too competitive, but we might work.
We'll get him.
We might work.
Keep
on
working on him.
And I've got to say the other just talking about local characters. Every single time I run the Pinnacle, I see John.
John is a must mention as well.
I think he's turning 80 this year. And almost every day he hikes from Halls Gap Township up to the Pinnacle. You'll recognise him because he holds like a giant staff, like a Gandalf-style staff, and he's super knowledgeable about the area. Like he's always up for a chat. But I mean, that's my running inspiration. When I get to 80, I want to be doing what John's doing.
It is so impressive, and it's so, man, like, I can't believe, I know we were chatting the other day, and he's like, oh, yeah, I've reduced from 7, I only do it 5 a week now, but, you're getting 500 metres of vert on the Pinnacle Loop, and I was trying to do the maths of, 7 times 500 metres, how much vert he was getting a week into a month. I'm like, that is some impressive
huge
vert.
He'd probably smash a park run. Get him on the flats and he'd start running 3-minute kilometres.
While we're talking about the Gandalf staff, I don't carry one myself, but is there any vital gear that you guys use that you would say is your favourite thing for these sort of trails out there?
The one, that we've touched on a couple of times that I want keen to ask you guys about, because is hiking poles. I've tried it a couple of times. I borrowed 2 mates' pairs of hiking poles and I broke them, each of them. So, I've got to either buy a pair myself or just don't bother. But I am actually keen to know, your opinions on it, because I think I need to graduate at some point.
Yeah, I use hiking poles a lot, just because of a bit of osteoarthritis in the knees already. They are my friend and my extension to my arms. However, on the rock, they can be slippery. So I did invest in some little lugs that you put on the bottom, but within a day, so after day 1, they were already down to nothing because the rock is so harsh. So
yeah, I also use poles, and I also tried the lugs, but I just felt like on that sort of rock, on the steep surfaces, they didn't get any more grip. And I found on the rocky surfaces, I definitely use them on the stairs, sort of alternating, so not sort of ski erg style both at once, but on the stairs I use them alternating. Also on the sort of rocky slopes, I find alternating, as long as you're looking for exactly where you want to place the tip, which I guess that's like a tungsten carbide tip or whatever it is, if you get a little divot, you can still really get some good leverage out of it. And it's sort of, maybe it's like that becomes your sole focus for the climb, but I still find them quite useful for those sections as well.
I'm interested because obviously Paddy gets to train with the poles in Go Word regularly as someone that lives there, because the trails are quite unique and specific, a lot of rock, etc. How did you find where you usually train and then using the poles in Go Word, or are you that familiar with the terrain there anyway that it was okay, or do you think anyone that's used to poles should be fine?
I think the more you use the poles, the more familiar you are with them. So they're not something you can just pull out the day before the race and say, oh, I'm going to try poles. It's something you really have to become familiar with using. There's different techniques on whether you are climbing a hill, whether you're descending, whether you're going over the rock. You have to get really familiar with putting them in and out of your pack as well, so that isn't sort of something that's going to play on your mind. So there's also a little bit of mind training that I had to do leading up to the race. So I don't listen to headphones. So even just getting used to being in silence and in your own mind for 5, 6, 7 hours straight is something you have to work with. So if you're tired and you've been in your own head for 5 hours and then the poles are annoying you because you can't get them in or out of your pack, that's something that can sort of tip you over. So I think that's also something you've got to play around with and work with prior to race day. So everything you want in the race day, you practice beforehand. Nutrition as well as equipment.
And I think, as you said, getting the poles in and out of your pack, I've got to say, I tried poles initially without getting one of those quivers that you can just...
Oh, you got the Salomon quiver?
Yeah, I got... Yeah, and before that was just endlessly frustrating because the nature of this trail, I think you are always putting them away, pulling them out, putting them away, pull them out. I can't survive without that quiver if I've got poles.
Can't just use a PVC pipe taped to your back or something? No?
I feel like some companies have done a bit of research about this. And I'll go with that.
You know, I was just wondering whether I could get away with it. You got a brand or a type of pole that you'd recommend? What are you guys using? As in, if I've got to go shopping.
For me, I actually was observing what everybody was taking around the GPT training camp and asked a few people about their recommendations there. Ended up going with Lecky, but not... I think you can get this super light, or I don't know what the names are, but I didn't get the super light ones because I was new to poles and thought I'd break them, and that was some of the advice that I'd had from other runners.
Oh, yeah.
If you're just going to use poles, like...
Some people break poles.
Yeah, that's right. So maybe you should have taken some advice there, Phil.
I need all the advice I can get.
So I got the second lightest ones, and no complaints.
I've gone with the Lecky as well. I went in the carbon fibre. They have got these really good little gloves you can wear. Some people like the gloves because the poles can then be attached to the glove. On some of that terrain, it can be frustrating, or when you're descending, I can sometimes take them off the glove in case I need to use my hands for something else.
Oh, yeah.
I have broken a pole out training on day 4. Day 4, I just went down a stair and I slipped on a wet step, and it's an expensive little training session. Let's just say that.
I should say as well, definitely when I'm doing technical stuff, but I still want the poles. Like, if I just want to put them away temporarily, I'll just grab both of them in one hand, out, like not clipped into the gloves, because I've had the case where they've been clipped in. I need my hands because I'm about to fall over and it's turned a bit ugly. So yeah, it's a good point.
Yeah, you can have some ugly falls with the poles.
So, Jade, I know you've been coming in for a long time. And then what would you say to people who wanted to come and visit the region or visit Halls Gap, especially those that are wanting to come and trail run? What advice would you give them? Is it worth coming for just a weekend, or would you like extended stay, or could you come work during the week and get some trail runs? What advice would you give to people coming looking to have some time in and try and get amongst the trails?
I am so drawn to the area, and I'm a shift worker, so if I get a day off, I'm straight there. I will come for a day, I will come for a weekend, or I'll come for a week. It doesn't matter how much or how little time. Any time is really grateful for me. So I will always be drawn to the same tracks if I'm there just for a short period of time, and they're all the ones that are out of Halls Gap. So minimal driving, just park at Halls Gap, stay at Halls Gap and run everything out of there. If I've got a little bit more time and I'm there for the weekend, I'll make my way further up to the Zumsteins and Mount Zero, or Dunkeld if I've got a full week to play and explore.
Yeah, it's fantastic. So if for someone not based there, if you just had the weekend, you just what would your trail experience look like?
I'm always drawn to a sunrise or a sunset. So as soon as I get to Halls Gap, I'll head Chatua Peak and I'll get the sunset there, or on the other side, is it Baronia? Baronia. I think Baronia is one of my favourite. It's easy for the whole family to get up there. It's like short time for most benefit. And I'll always say to friends that come up, I'll take them up to there, get a really nice sunset or a sunrise, and then I'll head across to Zumsteins if I want to drive. Wonderlands. I think every friend I've taken to Halls Gap, I always take up for a little sunset date.
And I think Baronia is, particularly on busy weekends, it's always quieter than the Pinnacle. Like if you're going up in a peak period, I often recommend people go up Baronia as well, just if they do want to get away from people a bit more. But still want to stick around Halls Gap.
And it's a night, you get from Halls Gap, if you loop it in with sort of Fynes Creek Trail, it's quite a nice sort of 10 to 12k loop, and you get 350 metres of vert, and the main trail up Baronia, accessible to families, but it has a bit of technicality to it as well, probably more so than some of the formed sections, the newer sections built of the Grampians Peaks Trail. So it adds a bit of an element of difference as well for those looking at changing it up.
I've actually been doing a loop over the past few weeks because, at the time of recording, there's been some bushfires in the area, so some of the trails are restricted at the moment. But all around Halls Gap, there's quite a few open trails, but there's a really good loop that incorporates Baronia. It's about 21k with a k of vert going up Pinnacle.
Always keen for the vertical k.
Yeah, absolutely. So up Pinnacle, then up Chautauqua, so going back to Chautauqua, and then down Fynes Creek Loop, up Baronia, down, and then looping back around to town via Tandara Road.
Oh, what a good loop. And how long? What sort of time frame would people need to consider?
I probably I think my last one was maybe 3 hours or so for that. And I think if you say can do 5-minute Ks for 2 hours on the flat, that would probably translate to 3 hours for that kind of run. I always add, whatever I do on the flat, I always add 1 hour per vertical K to convert it to trails, but I know that's like super generalized and doesn't work for all.
Interesting nonetheless. I like the calculator. Yeah,
I'll have a calculation.
Yeah,
or a spreadsheet.
Oh yeah.
Don't get me started. We'll have an episode about that. We'll have a follow-up stuff.
We don't need a whole episode on the maybe only 3.
Okay. Yeah. And you have to factor in the photos. So the Insta photo spots, that's at least another 5 or 10 minutes added to that time.
That's right.
That's really good, yeah.
Probably won't dwell on it because people are going to be listening to this podcast at all times. But right now, in February 2025, so there's been some bushfires. Perhaps we could just talk about the status of the trails and surrounding town. At the moment, the Pinnacle Loop is open. At the moment, you can't go through to Sundial because around the Sundial car park, it's kind of the edge of the impact area. But you can go up Chautauqua as well, up Baronia. And I'm sort of a little bit cautiously optimistic that they might actually open the north very soon. I wouldn't be surprised if they did open the north, meaning all the way from Mount Zero to Halls Gap. And hopefully Barocca's not far away as well.
It's been quite a long season for fires and quite some significant impacts. I think there's about 135,000 hectares, and sort of between that, sort of 2/3 to 3/4 of the park burnt, some pretty big impacts. So basically, majority of the north to Halls Gap, that north, the first 50k, and then up to the Pinnacle. So what we're talking, so the first 50k of the Peaks Trail's largely untouched, but there was a small fire around Barocca a couple of weeks ago, which has sort of led to that closure. But the fires that sort of started in mid-December impacted kind of that next, stats might be a little bit wrong, but probably 80k of the Peaks Trail, so that section's likely to remain closed for a couple of months, I'd say, from now. But hopefully the southern section down around Dunkeld, so The fire kind of goes from the Griffin trailhead. So the last day of what would have been stage 4 for you, everything from that last day stage hasn't been in the fire impacted zone. So it's kind of day 1, first segment, which we talked about today, of day 2, and then that day 4, the last 3 segments down there.
It's interesting just seeing some of the impact area as well. Like, in a very short time, there's already heaps of green springing up. Like, I think the grass trees are the first thing to open, and then you've got ferns that even a month after the fire, there's already like foot-tall ferns straight out of the ground, and then epicormic growth like around the burnt trees, which is sort of like the green growth that comes straight off the trunk. It's amazing, and I guess it's just part of the natural, like perhaps not this sort of level of intensity, but fire is a natural part of the environment there.
100%. The Australian bush is designed to be, it actually needs it. You know, you got a lot of the floristic species actually don't survive without certain fire intervals and things. So it is part of the natural landscape, and while the impacts can be quite devastating, the recovery does have its own beauty, and the bush does tend to, recover in a way. So for people that have been through these areas, it'll probably look a little bit different for a number of years to what they're previously used to, but it'll always have its own beauty and, experiences too. So.
Well said.
I'm really looking forward to getting out there when the trails reopen. Of course, if you want current, up-to-date information, always check the Parks Vic website to see what's open and shut. And if you are running in a fire danger period, it's always a good idea to have the Vic Emergency app and make sure you watch out for any alerts and the latest advice on there. I think with that, I'd really just like to thank Jay for coming in. It was great having you. Great to catch up and hear about your experience of the trails, Jay. So thanks a lot for coming in.
Yeah, thanks very much for having me. And yeah, you're doing amazing with your podcasts. And I look forward to this year going back out there and exploring the trails again.
And finishing the unfinished 12 kilometres.
I know. It's a long way to go just to do 12K.
Looking forward to seeing how you run this year. But no, thanks. Yeah, thanks for coming in, as Pat said. But it's great to chat and hear your experiences.
And thanks to all our listeners. We'll see you.
We're about to go for a run, aren't we?
We are.
We're going to go for a 5K run. This is a Gary Word trail running
off-site.
We've got a city excursion.
We're quite excited.
We are.
Pat's not sure what to do without the trees all around him.
I would like to thank Bobby Peels in North Melbourne for hosting the Gary Word Trail Running podcast today, and also the Bobby Peels Run Club, which we're all about to participate in, which is Wednesday nights for those that want to come down, 5:45.
Is it always this time of day?
Always Wednesday, 5:45 p.m. Meeting at the pub. Currently we're sponsored by Kaiju Beer, so that's a great shout out to them. They give us a free beer and a cider afterwards. I should really shout out to them so they can keep giving us free booze for after the run. But it's a chilled out run, really really chill out social 5Ks up around Royal Park in North Melbourne, and then back to the pub for some beer and some food.
All right, we better get to it. Thanks everyone for listening.
Do you reckon you can handle 5Ks, everyone? All right, yeah.
Hopefully we can do it.
It's going to bring back memories.